Hansel and Gretel. Part 1. Living at the edge of a forest was a poor woodcutter and his wife. They had 2 children, a boy named Hansel and a girl named Gretel. The family barely scraped by, living from one meager meal to the next. One year, a terrible famine struck and they couldn't even afford a piece of bread. One night, as the father lay awake in bed, burdened with worries, he sighed and spoke to his wife.
I don't know how we'll survive this hunger. What can we do to feed our poor children? We can't even feed ourselves.
Desperation and poverty had hardened the mother's heart. She turned to her husband and said,
"Husband, what else can we do? At the crack of dawn tomorrow, we'll take the children deep into the dense forest. We'll light a fire for them, give them each a small piece of bread, and then leave them there. They won't find their way home, and we'll be free of this burden."
Wife, that's unacceptable. How could we abandon our children in the forest? Wild animals will tear them to pieces.
Goodness, you're such a fool. Do you want all of us to die of hunger? If so, you might as well start building us coffins right now.
The wife's sharp words left the husband no room to argue. Reluctantly, he agreed, but added sorrowfully,
But I still feel sorry for our poor children.
Unable to sleep due to hunger, Hansel and Gretel overheard every word of their parents' conversation. Gretel began to sob.
"We're doomed, Hansel. What will we do?"
Don't worry, Gretel. I'll think of something.
Once their parents were sound asleep, Hansel got up, put on his coat, and sneaked outside. The moonlight illuminated the yard, and white pebbles shimmered like silver coins under its glow. Hansel bent down, filled his pockets with the pebbles, and then crept back inside.
Don't worry, little sister. Sleep well. Everything will be fine.
Hansel climbed into bed and fell asleep. At the break of dawn, before the sun had risen, the mother woke the children.
Get up, you lazy bones. It's time to gather wood in the forest.
She handed each child a small piece of bread and instructed them.
This is your lunch. If you eat it now, you'll have nothing later.
Gretel put her bread in her pocket, while Hansel's pockets were already full of white pebbles. Together, the family set off into the forest.
Hansel, why are you lagging behind? Keep up and stop dawdling.
Father, I see our white cat sitting on the roof. It's waving goodbye to me.
Fool! That's not your cat. It's just the sunlight shining on the chimney.
But Hansel wasn't looking at a cat. He was discreetly dropping pebbles from his pockets onto the ground. When they reached the heart of the forest, the father said,
Children, gather some wood to make a fire so you won't get cold.
Hansel and Gretel collected branches and stacked them into a small pile. The father lit the fire, and when the flames roared, the mother said,
Stay by the fire to keep warm. Your father and I need to go deeper into the forest to chop wood. We'll come back to get you when we're done.
Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire. At noon, they each ate their small piece of bread. They thought they heard the sound of their father chopping wood nearby, but it was only the wind blowing branches against a dry tree the father had tied up. The children waited and waited until they were so exhausted they fell asleep. When they woke up, it was already dark. Gretel began to cry.
How will we ever find our way out of the forest?
Don't worry, Gretel. Wait until the moon rises and we'll find our way home.
When the full moon rose, Hansel took Gretel's hand and followed the trail of white pebbles glistening in the moonlight like silver coins. They walked all night, and by dawn, they had arrived home. They knocked on the door and their mother opened it. Surprised to see them, she scolded.
You brats, why didn't you stay in the forest? I thought you weren't coming back.
But the father was overjoyed. for in his heart, he never truly wanted to leave his children in the forest.